Let's officially get to it. Cooper Kupp headed to the IR, looking like he's going to miss probably around 6 weeks, which is basically the rest of your fantasy season.
Yeah, if not more. I mean, like I said, they're probably not. I mean, do you expect them to bring Cooper Kupp back at the end of the year? No.
Why would they?
I mean, you're talking about like week 15. Why would they even bring him back and like try to aggravate? And that's like, I mean, he got the tightrope surgery. He's getting surgery tomorrow. So they're saying probably 6 up to 8 weeks. He's done. Like, he's not coming back. Like, this is one of the situations that they're going to make the playoffs. He'd probably come back and be ready for the playoffs. Maybe they give him a little action in week like 18. But for this team and the state it is now with their Super Bowl hangover, we will not see Cooper Kupp again. Obviously, like I said earlier, Ben Skowronek, he's going to play in the slot. He'll get a little bit more targets. Van Jefferson came back this week. He should be included a little bit more. Maybe they're not. No Odell Beckham's coming to save him this year because they're not contenders. So Odell Beckham's not going to sign with them this year for sure because they're out of it. Odell Beckham's probably going to go to the Bills. He's probably going to go to the Chiefs. Somebody that's actually ready to compete. Maybe somewhere in the NFC could take a step up, or Dallas has heavily recruited him. But for a Cooper Kupp, as a dynasty owner, you're screwed.
You're screwed. Yep. There's no, because you're not getting Justin Jefferson right now. You're not getting any of those guys. So like your best case scenario is you can get like a mid wide receiver one. And whoever it is not going to give you the same consistent production that you got out of Cooper Kupp. You can hope to get 80 to 85% of it, but that's probably the best you're going to get.
I think your best bet, Garrett, is just to find that older receiver that you can go out and possibly add to your roster. I mean, I think it's hard when you talk dynasty and you do these podcasts and when you talk trades and what you give up. And there's a reason we always use draft picks as kind of like a baseline, because in a vacuum, it's so hard to say, go trade for player A or go trade for player B, because you don't know what that player is on another dynasty team, whether he's a contender or somebody reloading. It's so hard to say that. Like, it's so easy. Well, you guys should go trade for this player. Well, that team's not trading that player, or they're asking for too much. Right. But I mean, outside of a vacuum, I think a really good candidate here when we're mentioned draft picks, like I think you'd probably get DeAndre Hopkins for a 23 first or a 23 first and second. Like, he's a perfect kind of player to go out he's over the 30-year-old mark that's still going to produce at a high level that you could trade that first and you can still get another couple of years out of him. So it's not like you're just wasting that first. But he's like he's the first guy that pops in my head. If there's any middle-end team or any team that's not a true contender that has D-Hop on their roster because they haven't got the right offer where somebody's not willing to give up that 23 first and second. I mean, hell, 23 first, second, and third. That's what it took, I think he's the perfect candidate to go out and acquire for your dynasty team at that position.
Yeah, absolutely. Another name that comes to mind, Mike Evans in the Tampa Bay offense. That offense looks like it's slowly starting to get itself together. Ryan Jensen, their really good offensive lineman's going to be back, and that's been part of the issue. Tom Brady hasn't had as much time as he's had in past years. Getting Jensen will be helpful, but Mike Evans is really consistent out there. You're going to get double-digit points week in, week out. Not quite Cooper Kupp level, sure, but you're going to get good production out of somebody like Mike Evans. So he's another one that comes to mind as well for me.
Yeah, anybody that's getting a little older, seen like depressed value, like Amari Cooper, Mike Evans, maybe Devontae Adams. I know he hasn't seen too much, but again, you're talking about guys. It all depends on your team and where the other team is. So, right? Like, you're basically just now going to go look at all the rosters that are, from the 6th seed down, right? They're slowly on the borderline, possibly trying to get out, and then go try and acquire the players, like any kind of player you can get that's going to produce. And then the opposite might be the opposite way to look at it too, Garrett, is like you might look to say somebody had a Cooper Kupp and say they were like in the 6th, 5th spot in the playoffs. And they're like, dude, that's it. My season's over. And they don't want to go out and go make moves. And they don't have 23 first to give up. They were kind of all in. Now's the time to go start vulturing their roster too. Like, it could be the quick opposite where you're like, hey, this guy was a number 1 seed and he's got Cooper Kupp and his number 2 receiver was DeAndre Hopkins, right? Because now you might get DeAndre Hopkins for, we're saying, hey, I hit to give him a first and second. You might just get DeAndre Hopkins for just a first because he's like, man, with no Cooper Kupp, I have no chance this was like my last shot. Cooper Kupp's 30, DeAndre Hopkins 30. Everybody's for sale, and now you're actually getting value off of that team way. So it actually worked both ways here.
Yeah, absolutely. It's a devastating injury, but anytime that these types of things happen, it opens up extra windows for trading, moving players that otherwise there would have been no reason to see Cooper Kupp on the move otherwise, or some of these other players. But these open up windows for teams that are now interested in acquiring players that they wouldn't have been interested in before.
Dynasty Nerds Fantasy Football Podcast.